Okay, so I just had one of like the best thoughts I've ever fucking had. Basically, the question of who really runs the world has been, of heated debate. And I don't even know what I'm going to title this video, but here's what the video is about. James Comey did some shit that got Donald Trump elected. This is pretty much undebatable. I watched it fucking happen. And when it happened, I went, why the fuck is this going on? And I'm still doing that. I've been doing that ever since it fucking happened. And I think I just figured it out. So I don't think the Clintons and the CIA or whoever runs the UFOs and the Republicans and a few other people, I don't think they're all on the same sides. So who is Comey? Who did he work for? Why did he fucking just like throw himself on a sword to keep Hillary Clinton out of office? These are good questions, right? Well, James Comey was the director of the FBI. So, as the director of the FBI, he is in one of the top positions in the machine. A lot of people don't get how our country is really run on like secret levels to keep shit out of the hands of fucking Russia and China and shit. There's a fair amount of stuff that's kept completely off the books of our government. Comey is one of the people that was given keys to the kingdom. As the director of the FBI, basically as a result of Hoover being the director of the FBI back when this shit was formed, and Hoover being very old and full of secrets, the director of the FBI is a key position in the intelligence machine of the United States. In fact, I would say whoever is the head of the FBI is one of the Majestic 12. The Majestic 12, for those who aren't in the know, are the 12 people that were read into there being secret classified UFO shit in the 50s. Okay. Maybe the head of the FBI wasn't in that group. But considering it was J. Edgar Hoover at the time, he was sitting with those 12 people as the 13th man. I guarantee you. So this man, who is James Comey, now is leading this organization that Hoover led in his old shoes, so to speak. As such, he's going to know a lot of shit. The Clintons are associated with some alien research people that are digging into deep secret shit that the company doesn't want fucking everybody to know about. And again, I don't know how much of this is true, how much of this is just my supposition, how much of this is out of the ether. But this is kind of what I see when I see this. And I think this is interesting because John Podesta worked for the Clintons and the Obamas. He's obsessed with UFOs. And he says one regret of being in the White House all the time was not releasing the UFO files. Clinton says similar shit. This is not with the machine. This is not with the agency. That's not what they would want. So the Obamas, the Clintons, the Democrats, those are run by another group of people. Meanwhile, the Republicans are a mix of big business and old guard and the agency. And there's some Democrats that are definitely agency-owned assets too. But for some reason, I think basically China is fighting the CIA for the control of our country, basically, politically. This is what's happening behind the scenes. And I don't really know why the Clintons and Obama are all on the side of the Chinese, other than money, a lot of World Monetary Fund shit. But I think, believe it or not, whoever was working with hiring Bob Lazar, I think those are the good guys. Believe it or not, for lack of a better word, I think that the CIA assets that run those deep, dark programs, I think they're some Captain America motherfuckers. I think they do what they do to give us an edge. Maybe they're not. Maybe they're trying to build a breakaway civilization. I don't fucking know. What I do know is that James Comey, the director of the FBI, ended his whole fucking career, basically, just to keep Hillary Clinton out of office. That's weird. And that, I guess my question is, if Hillary Clinton had gotten into office, what would have happened that the CIA didn't want to happen? Well, they were heap deep into fucking researching UFO shit and finding out about that. And I think the reason that the Clintons are into that shit is because of money. This shit is worth a fuck ton of money. Like, a lot of people don't realize this. We've already found out that basically UFOs are real from somewhere. We don't know where they're coming from, but there are things flying around that we don't understand. Anything like that crash that we had parts of is worth billions and trillions. It's worth all the money in the world. So, yeah, people are going to fight over it. And right now we're having some sort of criminal conspiracy fight over the soul of the United States without ever talking about the fact that, this alien shit is going on in the background, and there's literally like a fight amongst rich people in the United States as to who gets to control this tech and the future of humanity. This is to some extent, I believe, really going on right now, and I think this is really why James Comey fucking threw himself on a sword to keep Hillary out of office. I think he was given marching orders from on high, basically. He is he's a relatively young man who's now director of the FBI. He was put there by someone who trusts him, someone who knew that I'm going to make a phone call someday and say, hey, James Comey, you need to do X. I told you this was coming. This was the Faustian deal he made to get where he was. That's the only thing that explains him doing what he did to Hillary, because anyone in government would know that what he did was career suicide, because, like, you can't cause the Democratic Party to lose an election and expect to have a future in Washington. Like, maybe in Republican circles and shit like that, but even then, like, they're not going to touch him either for various reasons. 1 second. Does any of this make sense to you guys? Like, I'm trying to keep this video pretty short, and I know I'm talking about a lot of crazy shit in here, but, like, some of this is legitimately true. Some of this is my suppositions. It's my supposition that the CIA, to some extent, runs a lot of the world because they could if they wanted to. So, I assume that the biggest rat floats to the top kind of shit, and whoever's in charge of the CIA right now is probably not the nicest person in the world. Probably likes to be in charge of things. Like, I don't know. And this is the question, really, is can we trust our government? And based on this little 10 minutes here, your government is far more complex than you ever realized. You should know that. Basically, the big lie of America isn't that we are a republic or democracy or whatever. It's that we've let money infiltrate politics to such a level that democracy and us being a republic doesn't matter. We are a country of criminals right now, fighting over who gets to be king rat. It's sad, it's pathetic, and I think at least some of these, like, CIA asset kind of people that are running the alien research shit, at least, I think they have a different agenda from the Clintons, at least, and the Democrats as a whole. I think they're the reason we got Trump. I think that was a coordinated attack by them to cause that shit to happen. And maybe there are multiple elements within the CIA. Maybe there's a Democratic faction and a Republican faction. That's probably entirely true, but I think it's more likely that none of them are any of that, and they're just their own thing. They're the CIA. Which is kind of like how I feel. Like, I'm not really a Republican or a Democrat. I find their fights amusing or whatever, but in reality, they're fighting over a fake show for retards that has been placed over the veil of what's really happening. In reality, there's been shit that happened in American politics in my lifetime that have dramatically changed this country. You know, Citizens United, everything to do with money and politics that came from that. The advent of PACs and super PACs and shit like that. This is all just a way to funnel dark money to candidates that will do what the agency says. And this is why, in reality, like, I think currently we're not a kingdom, we're not a republic, we're ruled by a council of men, and they decide shit. Council of businessmen, and like whatever they decide determines quite a bit about what happens in this country. Not everything. The American people still have a vote, the politicians still have a vote. It's very balance of powers and shit. And like, honestly, if you had put me in the shoes of Harry S. Truman and Eisenhower and FDR and all them at the end of World War II, and had this going on, this level of alien secrety shit going on, I would have created a new branch of the government, and I probably would have made it a council of businessmen, and I wouldn't have given them ultimate power, but I would have given them quite a bit, because I would rather trust, captains of industry with this power than fucking politicians. And that's how I think. And I think a lot how your grandfathers thought. And I think basically it's not that all of history is a lie. It's we've been left out key details and told one or two very big lies. And then like they've manipulated the entire country into believing this is a fact. And like I think half of their issue with the drug culture is that when you do, psychedelics and smoke weed and do all this shit, you're opening your mind up to the universe and you can see through some of this shit. And it becomes plainly obvious to you some of what is going on. And I don't know, maybe I'm crazy. Does this all sound crazy to you? Because it doesn't sound crazy to me. Kind of sounds like I'm getting pretty close to the goddamn truth. To tell you the truth. I'm sorry for no pictures on this one. I didn't even title this. I just went live. I had this in my head and just needed to talk about this because otherwise I was going to forget it. And like this is the shit that happens when you sit around and smoke weed and watch political videos on YouTube mixed with other shit. But like this is what I see when I see that 2016 election now. There's a lot of shit that has happened in this behind the scenes of politics that we are going to find out about this shit in years to come, 20, 30 years at the very least, and it's going to be recorded as the craziest time in American history. We are living through one of the craziest eras in American history ever. And I really don't think this is the end. I think there's going to be some changes and whatever, and we're going to have some new money, and things are going to soldier on, and our drug war is going to continue, and everything. Like, I really thought that we couldn't, pull off what we've pulled off. But we managed to pull it off, I guess. And now we're building up to a fucking ground war with Russia, which makes no sense. And like, I don't know why Russia's not using nukes. I don't know exactly all of the details of why we're wanting a ground war with Russia other than money. Like, money's definitely a motivator, but like, there's an X factor to this shit that we do not understand. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that the agency has been playing in the Ukraine since World War II. I'll do a whole video on that, but someone asked the other day why Ukrainians have Nazi tattoos. Well, honey, that's a long story, and it has to do with the CIA. We'll do that one next. Thanks for watching.